Once upon a time, in a beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a couple, Mr. Felix and Mrs. Mary. They have been married for 10 years without a child, but luckily for them, God blessed them with a beautiful baby girl named Grace. They live with a little girl named Queen. Queen is the younger sister to Mary, which automatically makes her an aunt to Grace. They also have a nanny that helps them in the house. But little did they know that the nanny had a mission. On one fateful day, while everybody was asleep, the nanny sneaked into the room where Grace was kept and switched Grace with her own child. Her child's name is Juliet. Unbeknownst to her, the little girl, Queen, accidentally discovered that the nanny had swapped her sister's child in the house. As the girl's aunt, she didn't expose the truth at the spot. Instead, while the nanny was deleting the surveillance footage, she switched the two children back. In the morning, the nanny packed all her belongings and left the house with a baby in her arms. She thought she was holding the child of the wealthy couple, while her own child in a stroller was about to live the life of luxury. So after leaving the house, she sold the child to a trafficker, not realizing that the child she sold was her own daughter. 20 years have passed. Grace still lived with her biological parents and also had a close relationship with her aunt, Queen. Since her aunt's memory of that time was very blurry, she never revealed the truth about the nanny swap. One day, her aunt grabbed her suitcase to go study abroad. After the family saw her off, the nanny's daughter, Juliet, showed up at the door, claiming she was the wealthy family's biological daughter. The couple refused to believe it, since for 20 years they only had one daughter. Juliet immediately showed them the surveillance footage, claiming the current daughter was fake. After watching the footage, they realized that their daughter was swapped by their nanny. They then brought Juliet home and listened to her recount what happened years ago. They were heartbroken to learn about her suffering for over the past 20 years. To make up the love she had missed, the couple not only allowed her to live in the villa, but also arranged her to attend the same school with their daughter, Grace. The biological daughter could only silently accept, feeling like an outsider at the moment. Since Juliet moved in with them, Grace began to take care of their daily life as their nanny. The couple gave all their love to Juliet, but still, Juliet wanting to drive Grace away, intentionally flaunting all the new clothes her mother bought for her in front of Grace, and even insulted the girl and called her a thief who stole the love and identity that belongs to her. Hearing her mother's footsteps downstairs, Juliet deliberately snatched a bowl from Grace's hand, pretending to be weak and throwing it on the ground, forcefully accusing Grace for insulting her. When the mother saw Grace's injury, she immediately blamed Grace, and the father was also angry and slapped her. They never had been harsh to her before, but now they knew that the girl is not their biological daughter. They no longer care about her feelings. The mother blindly believed what Juliet told her, scolded Grace, and ordered her to kneel in the living room as punishment. The father, seeing Juliet, injured herself and even became more furious. Just then, the school teacher came visiting their house, reprimanded Grace for stealing the class money at school. The angry parents became even more enraged, Grace insisting that she didn't steal any money, but there were indeed several hundreds of naira in her backpack. At this point, Juliet pretended to be sympathetically advised Grace to admit her mistakes. This reminded Grace that it was actually Juliet that stole the class money and placed them in her backpack. Grace confronted Juliet, asking her why she was framing her. That time, the teacher, seeing that Grace refuses to admit that she was the one that stole the money, she now threatened that she will hand over the surveillance footage to the police. Juliet immediately became nervous and asked the teacher to give Grace one more chance. At this moment, both the parents and the teacher thought Juliet was kind, while Grace had become their disgrace. The teacher then showed the surveillance footage, which clearly showed that Grace was the one that stole the money and placed it in her backpack. This made Grace clearly confused, as she has seen Juliet framing her. Unable to prove her innocence, and Juliet adding fuel to the fire, the parents completely disassociate themselves with her, demanding she apologize and leave the house. Days later, the auntie came back from abroad. Upon returning, she found out that her niece has been replaced by Juliet. She immediately became suspicious and explained to her sister and her brother-in-law exactly what happened that night those children were swapped. They now realized that they have made a terrible mistake by believing Grace wasn't their biological daughter just based on surveillance footage, and even kicked her out of the house. The auntie's revelation sent a shockwave through the family. The parents, devastated by their actions, immediately set out to find their biological daughter, who was now alone and heartbroken. After days of searching, they found her staying with a kind elderly woman who had taken her in. The reunion was tearful. The parents begged for forgiveness, explaining how they had been deceived by the imposter Juliet. Their daughter, though hurt, agreed to return home, but she made it clear that building trust would take time. Juliet, realizing her game was over, attempted to flee but was caught by the police. She confessed to her deceit and manipulation, and it was revealed that she had a long history of conning people. In the aftermath, the family worked hard to heal. The parents showered their daughter with love and attention, making up for the lost time. They had also ensured she received counseling to cope with the trauma she had endured. The aunt, Queen, feeling guilty for not revealing the truth sooner, became a strong support system for her niece, helping her to navigate her new life. The family also reached out to the nanny, who was living in regret after realizing the harm she had caused. Years later, the family had rebuilt their bond, stronger than ever. The daughter, now an accomplished woman, forgave her parents and the nanny, understanding that mistakes were made, but love had ultimately triumphed. Then Juliet, having served her time, sought out to make amends and live a life of honesty. The story of the family became a tale of forgiveness and the unbreakable bond of love that can weather any storm. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please subscribe and follow for more.